Hello everyone, welcome to Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services. It's a video on daily news and editorial analysis, which I'll be covering from the Hindu and Indian Express, the important news and editorial that will be relevant for the preparation of civil services examination will be discussed in this session. Let's get started with the news topic list. Today is 27th of March. The first important news, that is understanding the IMF bailout plan. This is from the text and context page of the Hindu. Second, focus on submarine tech. Third, IMF chief warned risk to financial stability. Fourth, EPFO board of trustees to discuss the interest rate and pensions. And the last is an editorial making sense of disqualification of a Lok Sabha MP. We'll see the detail about the part. And apart from the editorial and news discussion, at the end of this video there will be MCQ based questions. These questions will be based on current affairs that will help you for the upcoming prelims examination. So without any further delay, let's get started. And if you're new to our channel, do not forget to subscribe Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services on YouTube. If you like this video, if you find this video informative and helpful, do press a like button. And if you're looking forward for the prelims marathon, you have 7 All India mock tests which started from 5th of March this month. In this, we'll be covering GS paper 1 and GS paper 2. Exciting offer for top 3 performers and a cash prize up to 50k on a final selection. How you can join this prelims marathon 2023? मैंने वीडियो के डिस्क्रिप्शन में लिंक दिया है. You can register yourself and be a participant of the All India Prelims Marathon, which will give you an idea. Your assessment is very important before you actually sit for the real examination. And before I start this session, a news that is there in today's newspaper, that is ISRO have put up 36 OneWeb satellites into orbit. I have already made a discussion to this news. That is the reason I'm not including this news in the analysis part of today's discussion. If you want to watch this video, we have a news in focus segment, the new learning segment, where you can watch this in complete detail in a very short form. Right? So do check it out. Our video ke playlist ko check kare, you'll find that. We'll start the discussion with the news, that is understanding IMF bailout, something important for general studies paper 2, that is important international institution, agencies, structure and their mandate. So the point of discussion here is with regards to IMF bailout, and why we are discussing because recently the IMF has agreed to they have actually approved 3 million bailout plan for Sri Lanka's struggling economy. In the recent time, we have come across the point where Sri Lanka economy was not performing well, even the worst economic crisis that Sri Lanka would have seen since independence. So 3 billion ki bailout ki package di gayi hai, which will definitely help and aid the part of it. Now, IMF is also negotiating with Pakistan. The condition of Pakistan economy is also stumbling. So 1.1 billion bailout ki baat ki gayi hai with Pakistan also, which is facing severe economic crisis marked by failing currency and price rise. So these two countries in particular, specifically Bangladesh and Pakistan, are the countries which are aligned and pipeline for the International Monetary Fund bailout plans. Now, why do nations seek IMF bailout? What are the reasons and what are the conditions they have to satisfy to get IMF bailout? See, countries जिनको help चाहिए IMF से, if the country are in the situation where the economics performance is not well and the current situation of economic crisis or currency crisis is ongoing, that country can go for IMF bailout plans. For instances, if you see in the present context, Sri Lanka and Pakistan is a country that have witnessed a rapid price rise, and even the exchange value, जो वहाँ foreign exchange reserves है, वो काफी ज़्यादा बड़ी है against the US dollar. Now, such currency crises are generally the result of mismanagement by their national central bank. If the central bank की अगर बात करें, it's a top bank which is regulating the part of monetary policy for a specific country. For India, we have Reserve Bank of India, which is taking care for the entire monetary policy, and fiscal policy is taken care by the government of the day. Right? Now, unpredictable fall in the value of currency can destroy the confidence, and even it can impact the economy, which is something impacting the exchange rate, goods and services for a particular country. Now, how the lending is done, कौन से ऐसे process हैं जिनके through lending की जाती है. There is a concept of special drawing right. There has been a question in UPSC prelims examination. I think the year was 2015 where UPSC have asked a direct question about the composition of part of the currencies that are there, right? So before I start, just to tell you 5 major currencies हैं जो SDR के component है. From here only a question was framed in prelims examination. These are US dollars, euros, Chinese yuan, Japanese yen, and British pound. These are the only currencies that have representation in the basket of the SDR. Now, IMF lend money through the special drawing rights to the troubled economies that seeks the lender assistance. Now, IMF carries out lending, the part of the which is given to the troubled economy, in lending them with the excess credit facilities, flexible credit line by a stand-up agreement. So there are due process of law has to be followed before the special drawing right is actually incepted. Now, countries receiving the bailout can use the SDR with the following purposes, specific purposes के लिए दी जाती हैं, and even on individual circumstances, but there are some part of commitment that a country has to make when they are getting the bailout. Now, about IMF, a brief about IMF. IMF was set up in 1945 out of the Bretton Woods Conference. And the goal of the IMF was to bring about international economies coordinations to prevent the currency devaluations and trying to promote its own export. Now, eventually, IMF has evolved as a lender to the last resort to the government and to the specific countries that has to deal with the severe currency crisis. So these are some of the measures and formal work that is taken by the International Monetary Fund. Now, what is a prerequisite for an IMF bailout? So these are the essential part that you must know as an aspirant of civil services, because there can be a direct question in the prelims examination. So क्या prerequisites हैं? That a country must be facing a problem of economic crisis, जहाँ पे उनकी exchange rate काफी ज़्यादा depreciate हो रहे हैं. We have seen the example of Pakistan and Sri Lanka, right? Now, IMF demand a country with high price inflations to ensure independence of its central bank. And IMF conditional lending has been controversial, and many believe that these reforms are too tough for the publics, right? This is specifically for a government of the day, that the process that has to be followed to get the bailouts. And moving to the other news of the day, that is AUKUS focus is on submarine tech, something important for General Studies paper 2 under the subtopic of General Studies, that is bilateral regional grouping and agreement involving India and affecting India's interest. So there was a meeting for the leaders of AUKUS grouping with 3 members are the participant, that is Australia, United Kingdom and United States, right? They have categorically noted that the primary focus of the AUKUS is on submarine technological development. Now, during this meeting, one point that was concerning India, whether India would also be the part of AUKUS, but they have categorically said that there is no room for cooperations with other countries. There was a hint that India cannot be part of AUKUS now. Now, making it stand clear, it says there is no room for the 4th country. Now, about AUKUS, a brief. It's a trilateral security partnership in the Indo-Pacific between Australia, UK, and the part of the United States. AUKUS partnership was unveiled in 2021. The military grouping designed to deter China and most noted for cooperations of nuclear-powered submarines. Now, there are 2 pillars of AUKUS partnership. The first pillar called for transfer of highly sensitive submarine technology to United States, UK, and to Australia. And the focus of advanced capabilities like emerging defense technology, artificial intelligence, and quantum computing, which include AI, artificial intelligence, and quantum computing. The exploratory part of the conservation have also focused on India corporations under Pillar 2, but still there is no clarity why India is concerned, because this is important for Indo-Pacific, and even for Indo-Pacific, India has a lot more concern, specifically to deter China. Now, Australia and the SSN class nuclear attack submarines, which Australia will be getting as a part of the partnership. So there will be there's an announcement with the implementations plan that will be equipped Australia with SSN nuclear attack submarines. And under this, Australia will receive at least 3 second-hand SSN from United States in 2030, and an interim measure will be there with the 5 new SSN to be designed and developed by the UK from early 2040s and late 2050s. So this is again a concern that was raised by many other countries, with Australia getting the part of nuclear submarines. Now, there's a Quad meeting which is scheduled for this year, that is 2023. This will be hosted by Australia. This will include the leaders like India, Australia, Japan, and United States. And on possible conversations occurs at the Quad, the diplomatic sources said that the former has no implications on the latter. मतलब caucus की बात की गई है Quad में, there will be no impact. This will be functioning at an individual level. Now, India के essence program की अगर बात करें, India has its own indigenous program and design developed for SSN, which Indian Navy has unlimited endurance in the underwater. और इंडिया की currently जो procuring है, that is for 6 advanced conventional submarines, that is depleting submarine strength and also speeding up SSN program specifically for country like India. IMF chief warned risk to the financial stability, something important for General Studies paper 3 under the subtopic of Indian economy, like economy and issues related to planning, mobilization, resource growth and development. So recently, while having a press conference, अगर बात करें IMF chief की, he said that there's a risk to financial stability that have increased and stressed the need for vision. This was a quote unquote statement said by her. And this come after a recent banking turmoil, which is say that the decisive action need to be there by the advanced economies that have calmed the market stress. I'll tell you the forecast also, which was given by IMF in a bit. Now, World Economic Performance की अगर बात करें, before I come to this performances, just see the growth forecast which was there by the World Economic Outlook. For the global economy, it forecasted 3.8%, for advanced economy 2.6%, and for emerging market it's 4.7%, right? So IMF has noted that world economy will grow by 3%, which is here in this data, right? Due to COVID-19 and even due to the impact of Russia-Ukraine war. And global growth is slowing due to a former mentioned aspect, which is a better outlook upcoming will remain below 3.8%, which is evident from this graph. Now, IMF की forecast की अगर बात करें, in January it was estimated that the world would slow by 3.4% from the current last year to 2.9% in 2023 and will further rise to 3.1% in 2024. This is like the presumptions and even you can say the assumptions made by IMF forecast. The better outlook for 2024, the growth will remain below the last decade, that is 3.8%. And most developed economy, because of the COVID-19 restrictions and even easing out for the economy recovery, it has seen the relaxations in the part of the growth. The IMF forecast is 5.2% for China, which has among the highest growth, with 3% for the earlier one. And IMF for India has projected growth 6.1% in 2023. So among all other countries, you can say that India has been anticipated for the higher growth in this fiscal year. EPFO Board of Trustees to discuss the interest rate and pension, something important for General Studies paper 2, that is welfare schemes for the vulnerable section of the population by the center and the state. And this is also important in the same paper of General Studies 2, where government policies and intervention are considered. Now, there's an upcoming meeting, like 223rd meeting of the Central Board of Trustees, और इस meeting में कुछ important चीजों पर discuss होनी है, which include the interest rate for financial year, the amount that is being kept with the EPFO. They have to pay an interest rate. So the interest rate will be decided. Currently, it is close to 8%. And higher pension, which is linked to the actual salary. This was the recent judgment by the Honorable Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has called for including higher pensions contributions and annual financial statement of employees' provident fund organizations, right? So this will be the first meeting where the status note of the pension is expected to discuss, where the window was extended till May 3rd for contributions to the EPO, that is the employment pension schemes, which is opting for a higher pension in their actual salaries. Now, if you see the interest rate, as I've told you, the interest rate is fluctuating. This is as low as 8.1% in current, and almost 6 crore subscriber हैं EPFO के पास, जो कि corpus देते हैं almost 450 crore rupees की. right? And the finance ministry has then rectified the interest rate, which is again not that high. Many people have been complaining that they're getting below 8% level. And even many subscriber has said that there's a delay in crediting of the interest they were supposed to get under the EPS, right? For the financial year 2022, the center proposes for that tax interest on the higher contribution of EPS will come into effect. Now, there's a Supreme Court directive in this regard, and what Supreme Court has said. So, Supreme Court has asked for the EPFO and central government to allow the higher contribution as per the employee's demand. There should be a capping, but higher contribution is essential. और इसी context में Kerala High Court ने भी order issue किया है, which said that the PF pension verdict would not impact the Supreme Court verdict, which was dated on November 4, 2022. Now, making sense of the disqualification of a Lok Sabha MP, something important for General Studies paper 2 under the subtopic, that is Parliament and State Legislature, function, conduct of businesses, power and privileges and issues arising from it. So what are the important issues under this editorial? First is the theme, that is disqualification of Lok Sabha MP. Some issues include Representation of the People Act 1951, Lily Thomas versus Union of India 2013 की केस को देखेंगे, the role of president and issues to reflect on and the way forward. Although it's a political news, but you as an aspirant and in the discussion part, I'll be more focusing on the part of the constitutional provision which is there, and this is going to be relevant for both prelims and mains examination. Now, recently a senior Congress leader, I think every one of you know, I'm talking specifically about Rahul Gandhi. He's a member of parliament who has been disqualified because a conviction was against him in the Gujarat court, where the defamation case was filed against him and conviction was made, right? So the legal community is mystified by the harassment which is there with regards to the unprecedented in the defamation case. There's a lot of opinion coming out of it, right? But for an aspirant, for examination perspective, will be more concerning on the part of the RP and other stuffs. So the issues will be anyway that will be dealt with the appellate court, जो खास करके इनको disqualify की गई है. This can be challenged in the appellate court, but the issues of disqualification need to be examined very carefully, because India is a country which is considered to be the world's largest democracy, and in this democracy, these things are the major components. Now, Representation of People Act 1951 को अगर देखें, these are some of the important points that you must take a note of. There's Section 8 of the RP Act, which specify various offences, conviction that entails to disqualification of a member of a legislature or a member of a parliament, either in the houses. Now, clause 3 जो है section की ये कहती है that any person who is convicted for any offences that is mentioned in the clause 2, or वो sentence is not less than 2 years, then he should immediately be qualified for the basically जब उनकी conviction होती है, from that time onwards he is disqualified, right? Now, there's a clause 4 that is exempted, that sitting member of instant disqualification for 3 months that will enable against the conviction. तो ऐसे लोग जिनको जो sitting members हैं उनको एक टाइम मिलनी चाहिए 3 months की, ताकि वो अपील कर पाए. This is only for sitting members, but again there was some part that was challenged in the Honorable Supreme Court in the Lily Thomas versus Union of India 2013. What is this? In clause 4 of the section 8 of the RPA, this was struck down as an ultra virus, where constitution said that the parliament has no power to enact an exemption. जहाँ पे exemptions की बात की गई थी sitting members को लेकर के, तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट के जजमेंट ने कैटेगोरिकली कहा कि इस तरह के पावर सुप्रीम खास करके पार्लियामेंट के पास नहीं है. The effect of this judgment is an instant disqualification of the sitting legislature as soon as he is convicted. So this is applicable after the Lily Thomas versus Union of India. However, the court made it clear that even the appellate saying that the conviction and sentence are there, the disqualification will be lifted and the member will be restored. अगर कोर्ट खास करके जो appellate court है, अगर वो उस order को reverse करती है, disqualify करती है, and अगर reject करती है, then only the member will be restated. Now, the role of president is very important in this context. If you see the part of the section 8.3 RP Act, which provide for the disqualification, the role of president become very important, right? and who shall be disqualified, and there is a word that is written shall be qualified. So in polity and in constitution, these type of superfluous word has a lot of ambit, and no, even it is a broader perspective. So 103 में specifically president के पास power है that to decide whether a sitting member should be disqualified or not under 102 subsection 1. And sub clauses of E of the article says that disqualification under the RPA Act does not include the convicted and sentenced under 8(3) of that. So ये कुछ limitations हैं, exceptions भी हैं. And in cases where adjudication are required, the president can simply declare that the sitting member has to become a subject to disqualification, right? So all due process of law was taken care before the present government has taken the decision. And even जो सेक्रेटरी जनरल होते हैं उनके पास भी ये पावर होती है कि डिस्क्वालिफिकेशंस को अलाउ करे, बट द रोल ऑफ प्रेसिडेंट इज सुप्रीम. Now, it eases to reflect upon the law on criminal defamation need an urgent review. Definitely for a country like India, with the mother of democracy, we need to look upon the part. And most countries like United Kingdom, United States have scrapped it. Even Sri Lanka is a country that has scrapped the part of the defamations. Now, in 1965, the Supreme Court has drawn attentions of the judicial system. There's a need to have a liberal approach in rhetorical, hyperbolic, and metaphorical words used by the politician in their speech should not be taken into consideration. Because अगर democracy में बोलने की आज़ादी है, we have a right to freedom of speech and expression. If that is there, then these things, no, even the part of defamation, should be given an exemption if it is in the context of a campaign. Because ऐसे तो फिर कई लोग disqualification हो जाएंगे, and even the spirit of the democracy will not actually work. Now, way forward, India poses a multi-party democracy. This is something that is the core character of India, and every political party has a potential in the ruling party, and every leader is exposed to danger, because in a political campaign, everything that is saying is against a party. So that invariably call for a defamations, and the law on criminal defamations need to be reviewed, and the elected person will face danger of being pulled out of the political process if this will continue for a longer period. बिकॉज ये एक लूप बनेगी और उस लूप में फिर कई ऐसे लोग हैं जो सारे पॉलिटिशियंस पे डिस्क्वालीफाई होते हैं, विच इज अगेन नॉट अंडर द स्पिरिट ऑफ द इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऑल्सो. Now, moving to the MCQ questions of the day. Before I proceed, just to tell you the answers of your study questions. For first question, the correct option is B. For second question, the correct option is A. Today's MCQ for practice with regards to jute sector, आपको कुछ क्वेश्चन जो स्टेटमेंट से कंसिडर करने, that the jute sector has mandated the procurement for raw jute without quantitative and growing for the MSP. At 50% food grain, 20% are required for mandatory packing of the jute packs. So do check it for the correct options. Second is with regards to parliamentary committee. There have been a question in parliamentary committees. So it's a panel of parliamentary members that appoint and elect house further nominated by the speakers or chairman. The chairman of the public committee is chosen from the regular political party. So do check it out for the correct option. Practicing a lot more question will give you an edge and added advantage over the upcoming prelims examination. So this was all about for the daily news and editorial analysis, followed by the MCQ questions. If you have any other concern, you can reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to assist you. For time being, I'm signing off. Thank you so much for watching this video.